How we doing, guys? My name is Honcho and welcome to my basic tank guide for Squad. We've all been in a game where you see three Chads in a tank absolutely obliterating the enemy whilst everything, including the kitchen sink, is being thrown at them. But somehow they shrug it all off, roll on to victory, and you inevitably think, you know what? I want some of that. Psh, how hard can it be? So the very next game, you hop into your MBT only to be annihilated 2 minutes after leaving main. You're now dazed, confused, and most of your team is probably shouting at you. Well, by the end of this video, you should be well on your way to becoming a badass tanker ready to take on anything the enemy can throw at you. I do want to quickly mention though, that this video will also be beneficial to infantry players, as it will help everyone understand what they can and can't expect from tank crews. It's time to pick your poison. There are 5 main battle tanks in Squad spread across the different nations throughout the game. They come down to the M1 Abrams, which is used by USA and Australia, the Leopard 2A6, which is used by Canada, the Challenger for Great Britain, the T-72 for MEA and Russia, and the T-62 for MEA, Militia and Insurgents. All of these tanks have their own strengths and weaknesses, unless, of course, it's the T-62, which is just crap. But it's a pile of crap that I absolutely adore, and I will not let you say a bad thing about it. Anyway, let's crack on. There are many perceived ways to use tanks in Squad, and the lines of what people expect from a tank crew can be very blurred at best. But the main thing to remember is that your way to victory always lies with the infantry. Thus, the main purpose of armour is to support the infantry. The tank is most suited to dealing with enemy armour, and not at all suited to lead an infantry push. If your tank is ahead of your infantry and has no support, you aren't going to last long. But we'll get onto map positioning later on in the video. Firstly, I want to talk about the crew. Naturally, to run a vehicle in Squad, you need to run the crewman kit, or lead crewman if you are the squad leader. Generally, a lot of servers will allow you to run a tank with only 2 crew, and that is perfectly fine, but as most tanks have 3 or 4 seats, running them at capacity can totally transform the vehicle, making it a lot stronger. And believe it or not, this one point here is one of the most overlooked. The main seats in a tank consist of the driver, the main gunner, and commander. The 4th seat is technically a loader's seat, but for gameplay experience it generally runs an external machine gun on the turret. When running in a tank, it's always a good idea to make use of the fire teams. This allows everyone in your vehicle to have the ability to mark things independently and helps the efficiency of the crew on a whole. For example, your driver can mark places on the map where they think they should go, or the commander can mark an enemy FOB whilst driving past. I always recommend binding a button on your mouse or keyboard for observe so you can quickly ping something without having to think about it too much, but the default key is U. Most tank commander sights are more powerful than the tank's main gun sight. They also have a laser rangefinder, just like the gunner, and those that run a roof-mounted gun can deal with infantry and light armour. You can also get the commander and gunner to snap to whatever they are looking at by pressing the correct keybind, usually E or spacebar. It is generally a bad idea to override the gunner as commander, so alternatively I recommend telling the gunner to snap to the commander's target. This leaves the gunner in full control and saves over-rotating of the turret. Okay, so now you have your tank and crew sorted, it's time to find somewhere to go on the map. Map knowledge and map reading can give you a huge advantage over other armour players, and it's something that generally comes over time as you get more familiar with each map and specific locations. Always look for somewhere that keeps your tank as covered as possible, preferably in a hull down position, thus leaving you less exposed. But most importantly, always get yourself set up where you have a good escape plan. Things can go south real quick, but if you have an escape route already pre-calculated, it will massively increase your chances of survival. If you do have an advantageous position which allows you to shoot from range, always keep in mind that if you stay somewhere too long, you'll more than likely have someone come and ambush you just to get revenge. Always have someone keeping an eye on the map to see where your team's infantry is, because you never want to advance past them. If you do, you find yourself in trouble, you're usually on your own and done for. Same goes for taking your tank into a built-up area. Make sure you have plenty of infantry support, because without it, all it takes is one LAT to hit your track and you're a sitting duck. So, you're now on your way out of Maine with an idea of somewhere to go? I suppose I best give you the lowdown on the biggest reason you want to use that tank in the first place, and that's the gun. All tanks have their own specific optics with different fields of view, offsets, and different types of ammo. Some are easier to learn and read than others, but they've all been designed and made to serve a purpose. But the one thing they all have in common, with exception of the T62, is a laser rangefinder. This will give you an accurate range up to 1500 meters. It reads from the very center of the sight, and from there you have to convert the distance read on the rangefinder to the range marked on the optic. Take your time to learn the different quirks of each sight picture. I won't go too far into the individual ones for each vehicle, as I will be doing specific guides for each tank after this video, where I'll go into things in much more depth in due time. The three main ammo types for your main gun will be Armor Piercing Sabo. This is designed specifically to deal with armored targets such as other tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and APCs. Oh, and helis if you like swatting flies. High Explosive Anti-Tank. These rounds will work on all targets from tanks to infantry, but they don't do the same outright damage as an AP round will on a T72 or a Bradley, for example. However, they're a great way to immobilize an enemy tank by tracking them, or for destroying a lodgy that's full of infantry. I mean, who doesn't like scattering a lodgy full of guys? I'll just quickly note now, in the Challenger, these will be called squash heads. And finally, fragmentation rounds. You'll generally only find these in the T72 and T62, but these are specifically designed for taking out infantry. These are perfect if they're in a building or you see a load of infantry in a confined area. Now you do have a coaxial machine gun, but just bear in mind that when you switch to this and then switch back to the main gun, you will have to reload the cannon to be able to fire it again. Yes, it's a dumb mechanic, and hopefully OWI will do something to change this soon. Please, I'm begging you. Most of the time, life in a tank can be pretty chill. You just sit back at range, support an infantry, and whack things when they present themselves. But there will be times where you'll come across multiple threats. Knowing what to shoot and take out first can mean the difference between survival or being back at main and everyone shouting at you again. Naturally, tanks are your number one priority to deal with, but things like Bradleys, BMPs, AT infantry and anti-tank emplacements can sometimes take priority due to the severe damage they can inflict on you. Heavy anti-tank infantry and ATGMs can take up to 80% of your health off in one shot. In fact, in some cases, if they hit your ammo rack, you're done in one. So don't get too comfortable, and always keep a lookout for infantry or vehicles sneaking up and flanking you. When you have multiple targets, it's going to get tricky, but the most important thing is to try and focus on one target to take it out. They don't lose tickets for damaging an enemy vehicle, only by destroying it. Usually, if you're a single tank up against two or more and you've been ambushed, you're pretty much done for 9 out of 10 times. But if you are the one who's managing to ambush the enemy, sometimes it's worth immobilizing both vehicles so you have a chance to reposition without being chased. Repairing a vehicle can be a very stressful ordeal too, but this is also where running a tank with full crew has a massive advantage. Depending on the situation would depend on who gets out to repair the vehicle, but if you only have a crew of 2, one gets out to repair and he's quickly mowed down by a guy in the bush next to you, you're going to be in a very bad way very quickly. I always suggest the most inexperienced or disposable member gets out to repair the vehicle, but always check your surroundings first. The more crew you have repairing the tank, the quicker the repair will be. Don't forget to get the gunner to use his 40mm smoke launchers for extra cover, and driver to use his smoke to cover your tail on exit. Make sure to communicate what side of the tank you're at whilst repairing, so the gunner knows not to point the turret in that direction. Otherwise, he'll kill you with overpressure when he fires the main gun. Alternatively though, if the gunner is alone in a bad situation and there is enemy infantry on or near your tank, shooting over them will kill them in the same manner. Communicate with each other as clearly as possible. There's nothing worse than when the gunner is about to take a shot and the driver rotates or moves the tank last second, as this can result in missing the shot. Or if the commander overrides the gunner whilst trying to aim at the enemy. Using the fire team markers to point things out is extremely useful here too, as mentioned earlier on in the video. Also, be sure to communicate with other squads and nearby infantry as best as you can. Don't be afraid to repeatedly ask for updates on enemy armor locations, as this can help you to get into a good ambush position. Make sure to inform other squad leaders when you've knocked out an enemy vehicle, even if it's only a scout car or a helicopter. It's all tickets and all plays part of the big picture. Alternatively, if things are going bad and you've been ambushed near a friendly squad, let them know so they can at least come and try to assist you. The best tank kills are when no one's been able to shoot back at you. That's when you know you've done it right. Keep cool, keep calm, and communicate. And there you have it. Now I know this isn't going to click overnight and it's going to take quite a few frustrating deaths, but trust me, you'll really start seeing an improvement soon and you'll feel it starting to come together. Now I don't claim to be the best armor player, but everything I've mentioned here is what I've learned myself and from others over my past few years on Squad. Speaking of which, I do stream Squad quite frequently over on Twitch. Feel free to swing by if you have any questions, or if you just want to come and chill out watching a variety of armor gameplay. I hope this video serves you all well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and bell icon for more future Squad guides and content. Have a great day, and I'll catch you next time.